Hi everyone, I'm Dave and I love movies. So, welcome to my podcast, The Reaction Shot. In each episode, I'll dive deep into a movie of any genre that holds a special place in my heart. But here's the twist. I bring on a guest who has never seen that movie before, until now. We discuss, dissect, and review from pre to post-production to behind-the-scenes stories and well into its impact on pop culture. Will we agree on everything, or will we have wildly different views? Thanks for hitting play. Let's roll tape and find out. Fade in. Hey everyone, welcome back to The Reaction Shot. We have finally made it to episode 11, and I'm joined today by two pretty amazing people. First up, I have returning guest, Lauren Drake. Lauren, how are you?
Thrilled to be talking about this movie.
Oh man, I knew you would be. That's
Mhm.
why I had to make sure that I, picked this movie for us to watch. I felt like I've been a little bit too tame with you.
Oh, I should feel honored
And
then?
then, yeah, you should
Feel
feel
honored?
honored
Okay.
for the horror that is what we were about to embark on.
Mhm.
Also joining me is first time reaction shot podcaster, my fiance, Zach Dearth. Zach, how are you?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for being a part of this. You're in the same room as me, so this is super cool. This is my first time having a guest in the same room as me, so
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
yeah, it's kind of weird. We're not even facing each other. We're kind of, I don't know, it's a weird setup here, guys, but it's okay. We're having fun with this. All right, so Lauren said that she was super excited, about today's episode. Today's episode is actually Terrifier. Lauren,
Yeah.
what did you know about Terrifier before we started this idea?
Just, what you've shown me, generously showed me.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I think you showed me, I'm pretty sure you showed me a clip of Terrifier 2 at work.
I did.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
I didn't recognize it in this one. And I felt like I had to faint and I felt like I was going to throw up. So I went into this with such dread. So yeah, that's how I felt going into this.
Yeah, so you were obviously very excited. So I was actually talking about the movie Terrifier with Lauren because that's all I do is talk about movies. And Lauren has never really seen a lot of them, so I like to torment her a little bit with different films. So when Terrifier 2 came out, Zach and I went to go see it at the theater, and I had to tell Lauren all about the infamous bedroom scene.
Yes.
So I showed her a clip on YouTube of that scene, and needless to say, she didn't really like it that much.
No,
right?
That's an understatement. I had to drink what I thought I was going to faint. I was like, this is crazy. Why that you enjoyed this film?
Without giving too much away, because we'll obviously get into this, but did you think the bedroom scene from Terrifier 2 was worse than anything you saw in this first Terrifier?
I think they're all pretty equal to me in my mind right now.
Gotcha. Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
All right, so that's your background on the film. Obviously, this is me introducing Terrifier to you.
Mm-hmm.
But it's fun to say that I was actually introduced to Terrifier by Mr. Zach here. I actually don't even think that I had heard of it before. I might have seen pictures of Art the Clown, but it wasn't really something that was on my radar. So, Zach, tell me a little bit about your first time seeing Terrifier, or what you at least remember.
Yeah, so it's actually a pretty interesting story. So I know Lauren knows this, but I don't know if anyone else knows this, but back in the day, like 2016, 17, right, Dave? Like you and I had different work schedules, and there were certain TV shows that we watched together at nighttime. Like I wasn't allowed to watch any movies or certain TV shows when Dave was at work.
Absolutely.
Like I had to wait to watch them when we were together in the evening or just whenever we had free time. So I was poking around all the streaming services trying to find something to watch that piqued my interest. Like I'm a true crime junkie, really into horror like Dave as well. And I feel like Dave, we were talking about this. I can't remember if it was on Netflix or Hulu or some streaming service, but I stumbled across this movie called The Terrifier, and I was like, "What the fuck is this? Like, is it worth checking out? Whatever." So, I watched the trailer. I looked at it, and I'm really glad I did because it opened up my eyes to the wonderful world of Art the Clown and The Terrifier. So that's how I got introduced to the movie, and I know we'll talk a little bit more in detail about what we liked about it and more of a detailed background as we proceed. But I'll leave that for later on. But yeah, that's kind of my first introduction to the movie. And then, of course, I was like, oh my God, Dave, I saw this really cool movie, like The Terrifier, Art the Clown. Like, you have to watch it. And then I obviously convinced Dave to watch it with me as well. So,
Yeah, so Zach has this thing he does whenever he's watching something scary or violent. He likes to send Snapchat videos of those gruesome murders. I don't remember if he sent me one of the infamous scenes from Terrifier or not, but I do remember him talking about it prior to me watching it, and I was like, that sounds fucking cool.
Oh God, you too.
Yeah, you're welcome. So yeah, background with me is, pretty much piggybacking off of what Zach said. I was at work one night. Zach was watching Terrifier on Netflix, and he could do nothing but praise it. So of course, him and I watched it together, and the rest is history. I mean, we actually like to introduce this movie to numerous amounts of people. A lot of our friends have seen it because of us, or a lot of our friends have shot us down because they're like, we're not fucking watching something like that. So, Lauren, thanks
Was
again
that an
for
option
saying
to
you would do
do?
this.
There's an option to.
Yeah, no, I usually just, they, they didn't get forced like you did.
Okay.
So,
I was gonna say this is one of those good movies to show an unsuspecting friend
Oh
like
my
Lauren
God.
or someone else in your friend circle.
yeah,
So,
we've shown multiple people. We actually watched it this past weekend with one of our friends, D'Amica, and her reaction was kind of like, "What the fuck am I watching? No way, this is happening. Are you kidding me?" I don't think she loved it, but that's okay. That's the great thing about film, especially horror movies. Cool. So that's our origins of Terrifier. Lauren, listeners, I'm going to educate you a little bit on the background of Terrifier and Art the Clown.
Okay.
So this is the first film that's centered on Art the Clown. However, it's the second feature-length film to include the character. Lauren, I was actually going to have you watch this other film, which was a movie called All Hallows Eve. It was a direct-to-DVD film that came out in October 2013. Damien Leone, the writer and director, it was his feature film debut. The film was kind of presented as a series of shorts where the story kind of centers on two children and their babysitter discovering an unmarked videotape on Halloween night. On the videotape, they see a lot of different stories playing out, all of which feature Art the Clown. So, the cool thing about this movie is it has scenes from Damien Leone's short film titled The Ninth Circle, which was the first movie that he ever directed. It was a short film that was filmed on a 35mm camera in 2006 and featured multiple different monsters, stalking a bunch of people in like tunnels or basements, and Art the Clown was actually one of them. Later on in 2011, Damien Leone released another short film titled Terrifier. This film also has scenes featured in All Hallows Eve. The producer of All Hallows Eve came up with an idea, and what he wanted to do was feature a bunch of different directors, putting like their horror movies in this film and kind of connecting them all together as one feature-length film, like an anthology, basically. He came across Damien Leone's Terrifier short that he had uploaded on YouTube and asked Leone to be a part of this film. So Damien Leone actually convinced him to shoot everything, to include both of his short films, film another one, and then make a full connection to make a cohesive film. So once the film came out, it didn't really come out with a lot of rave reviews, but everyone was talking about, at least in the horror film community, how much they loved Art the Clown and how creepy he was.
They loved him.
Do you think that they were right, Lauren, that Art the Clown is pretty iconic?
I certainly will remember him for the rest of my life. Yes.
Okay, that's fair. Art the Clown is gonna haunt your
Yeah.
dreams.
Yes.
Did he do it already since you watched it last night, right?
I watched it last night. I did like so I had my friend Courtney over. We watched it together because I'm like, I cannot watch this movie by myself. I went to the bathroom at one point and I walk out and she jump scares me.
Iconic.
I screamed so loud because this movie was like affecting me that much.
Awesome. I
No,
love to hear
it
that.
was not.
Honestly, thanks, Courtney, for that. Oddly enough, I actually asked Courtney to send me a little voice message letting me know what she thought about the film. So essentially, what I did here was try to get someone else's reaction shot, and Courtney so generously provided me her viewpoint. So I want to play that for you guys right now so you have a general idea of how our mutual friend Courtney felt about this film. It may or may not be the same as Lauren's, but we will find out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm going to send this audio message to you just to let you know that that was the worst horror movie that I've ever seen. And I love horror, and I know that we have a difference of opinions when it comes to horror movies, but I at least like a plot. I like to be able to watch more than 20% of it. And I was not able to watch any of that because of the blood and the gore and of it. And there was no plot. And it was kind of boring. I actually played with Lauren's cats during a lot of it because I just couldn't watch it. And I'm disappointed in you because you are a movie buff and you have great taste in movies, but I don't know what you were smoking when you watched this one. Thank you very much. I will not be watching 2, and I definitely will not be watching 3 when it comes out. So,
Well, thank you for that 5-star rave review, Courtney. We appreciate it. Zach, do you agree with Courtney's view here?
I feel like we're on opposite sides of the fence here, and that's quite all right. My perspective on the film and Art the Clown in particular is quite different from Lauren and Courtney's perspective. I feel like at the time, whenever I stumbled across this character, I feel like not that horror, scary movies, there was like a drought of characters that stick out, but I feel like although that clowns have been done before, the portrayal of Art the Clown from David Howard Thornton, it really was kind of like a game changer, right? So it kind of just like not only made the character exciting, but it also kind of made movie more exciting for me. I feel like for some reason it just really stuck out at a time when I feel like there were other horror movies that were not sticking out at the same time. And also, Lauren, I love the bloodiness and the goriness, so I think we have a difference of opinion there too.
Absolutely, we do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Zach actually said it really well. The funny thing about what Zach mentioned about, horror icons at the time, we went through a really long period of time where we haven't really gotten a new member of the elite horror icons. We have Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees, Freddy Krueger, we have Ghostface, we have Chucky. I mean, some could even say Pinhead from Hellraiser, Jigsaw from Saw. So we have these elite horror icons that have gone on these long franchises and still remain relevant. We haven't really had someone new come along that has stayed around for quite a bit of time. So when I saw this film, much like Zach said, watching it, it's kind of like, okay, this might be somebody new who can really join that elite group of horror figures. And as of today in 2024, we're getting close to the Halloween season. I mean, all I see at Halloween stores now are Art the Clown things. Do you agree, Lauren? Have you been seeing a lot of Art the Clown stuff? Is it something you don't really pay attention to?
I feel like I only see it because you share it.
Okay, well, you're welcome.
I didn't think it was as big as you're saying. I have not seen any Halloween costumes or anything like that. I really only know about this character through you. So, yeah, I guess it's getting
that's
big
good.
if they're making a second and a third. So,
yeah. So the second one is out. It's ready for you to view for another episode super soon. And then Terrifier 3 comes out in October. So we're almost there, and I'm super excited about it. Lauren's going to come here We live in a different state. Lauren's going to come here to watch Terrifier
I
3 in the theater.
never said that.
She's so
I
excited.
will come to visit you, and we can like catch butterflies and sing songs, but
Oh.
I'm not seeing
Oh,
Terrifier
this is a
3.
totally different weekend than I have planned. All right, we'll discuss that on another
Yeah.
date, but we'll update you listeners for sure. Fast forward to us doing another episode together of Terrifier 2 and then Terrifier 3.
Okay.
LOL.
Wait, so you mentioned the third one. Is it like a Christmas for sure? Like those weren't just fake images you sent me?
No, yeah. So last night after Lauren watched Terrifier, I started teasing Terrifier 3 for her by sending her images of Art the Clown dressed up as Santa Claus, since the new film takes place at Christmas time. But yeah, it's a Christmas movie with Art the Clown doing his thing. The teaser trailer that was released.
As a person who still has their Christmas tree up and loves lights and like all of that, I am absolutely horrified that they made this movie.
You mean you're terrified?
Yes, I didn't want to sound redundant.
Oh, it's fine. We're all about redundancy with the terrifying Art the Clown.
But
yes, it is a Christmas movie.
Come on now.
Well, I'll send you the teaser trailer where a little girl comes down for trying to catch Santa Claus, eat some milk and cookies, but it's actually Art the Clown with a bag full of his own goodies and his iconic face. So
I just picture little
gonna assume that
Lou. That's what I picture.
Well, it looks like little Cindy Lou Who doesn't make it very far.
Oh no, he's killing children now. Yeah, I'm gonna cry.
I mean, I don't know if that's what happens, but that trailer, I mean,
Okay.
I don't think he's gonna let anyone go unless he's having a very Grinch moment.
Okay.
So back to Terrifier. In 2015, Damien Leone launched a campaign on the crowdfunding site Indiegogo to finance a feature-length spin-off starring Art the Clown himself. After being notified of the campaign, filmmaker Phil Falcone provided the necessary funds for the project in exchange for producer credit. So essentially, Damien Leone was trying to get this film made. He wanted to, put Art the Clown in the limelight, wanted to make him the center of attention for the horror community. So Phil Falcone helped him out and basically just said, here's the money, get it made. Terrifier, once it was complete, ended up premiering at the Telluride Horror Film Festival in 2016. And I apologize, it actually wasn't complete. There was actually a few of the scenes missing, including the morgue scene at the end. Later, it was screened and officially completed at the Horror Channel Fright Fest on October 28th, 2017, and picked up by Dread Central Presents and Epic Pictures for a limited 2018 release, and released on DVD and Blu-ray on March 27th, 2018. It ended up coming to Netflix on September 1st, 2018. And basically, that's where the word of mouth and the wonderful world of streaming got together and helped Art the Clown and the film Terrifier make it on everyone's minds.
I didn't realize it was on Netflix.
That must have been where I saw it then, 2018.
Yeah, I'm assuming it was probably like around Halloween time. So it premiered September 1st. I feel like it was probably featured prominently on the main pages or whatnot. So I guess we can chalk it up to the end of 2018 is when we saw the movie. So Terrifier is a slasher horror film with an estimated budget of $35,000.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Wow.
So there's conflicting reports that also go up to $100,000. However, with most of my research, I have found all the information that $35,000 was what it cost. I don't know if Phil Falcone ended up building on top of that or how that all played out, but it was made on a very low budget, and we could easily say it was made for under $100,000. Opening weekend was very limited, but it did end up making $123,957 its opening weekend, which obviously is a lot more than what the movie cost, and ended up with a worldwide gross of $416,322. So not tons of money being made here. However, it made back its budget, put everything on the map. And the film is actually only an hour and 25 minutes long. So it's, I think, a pretty easy watch. It's produced, written, edited, and directed by Damien Leone. And Damien Leone also did all of the special effects himself. That's talent.
Mhm.
I think, Dave, I can't remember if it was Terrifier, the first one, or the second one where we saw a behind the scenes look. But I feel like with the limited budget and the multiple hats that not just Damien Leone, but the whole crew wore, just really trying to produce this film and make it happen, I think that's part of the magic of the Terrifier, just all the love that went into making the film, which is part of why I think it turned out so great. What do you think, Dave?
No, I completely agree. I think that's one of the things as a lover of movies, especially horror. I think watching people pour their passion into a project is very exciting. It's admirable as well to know that someone, made a couple of short films, took creative control over a movie that he was approached to be a part of, and then found a way to get a bunch of money to make his own film. And I mean, here we are getting ready to get on Terrifier 3. Multiple movie studios were fighting over the rights to put Terrifier 3 out. And Damien Leone said, no, like, this is mine. I want to do that. And, this is my baby, and I don't want anyone touching it. So I think that's pretty awesome. And I think he has a really good group of people with him that keeps letting him bring his vision to life. That helps out a lot. I think that's one of the big draws for me. I know you can't get past
me feel very bad about my opinion.
I was going to say, I wish the people listening could see Lauren's face, because Dave and I are like smiling and lighting up as we're talking about this, but Lauren was having like a little bit of the opposite reaction. But that's okay, Lauren. We love you.
No, we're just like hearing
So
about
this actually
the
also-
labor of love and all that is just making me like, I feel so today.
Here comes the tears,
I
guys.
know, I'm
You
gonna
can't see them, but they're
cry.
about to happen. Now Lauren's just shitting all over your
I know,
movie.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. That's a great thing about film. Opposite viewpoints, different reactions. That's kind of what this podcast is all about. I'm introducing movies that I love to people. Sometimes they love them. Sometimes they're like, Dave, what the fuck did you just show me? Why is this your favorite?
Sorry not to interrupt you, but is now a good time to say this is one of my favorite movies, so I'm probably a little bit biased. Lauren, I don't know if you knew that.
Right?
Maybe you did.
Didn't know that. No. I didn't realize it was like one of, I knew that you loved it, but I didn't realize it was one of your favorite movies. Are you kidding?
Yep.
Are you like joking with me right now? You're not joking.
Nope.
No, he's not.
It's the real deal.
Wow.
It's the real deal, Lauren.
Oh my, okay. I'm questioning some things.
Well, as we're talking about this labor of love, just to make you tear up a little bit more, I actually had been discussing on Instagram with one of the actors from the first Terrifier, who also ends up becoming a producer for Terrifier 2 and 3. His name is Jason Levy. Got back to me when I asked him what his favorite memory being on the film was, and he wanted to let me know that what I'm about to read is a quote from him. My favorite memory is every day there, always laughing while making this movie. We are all a family, and when you work with each other day in and day out, you become so close. There's never a dull moment. I remember when we were filming The Beheading Exterminator, my brother was the actor in the scene, and he was cold because the room was freezing, and he was covered in blood, and we just poured more and more on him, and we're laughing nonstop. That's how the making of this movie was super fun, because we are horror fans making films for horror fans, and that is the most rewarding thing.
Who did you said he acted in it?
Yes.
Who did he play?
Jason Levy, he was one of the 2 police officers.
He said something key there. He said something key. He said they made a horror film for horror fans. That's key.
Okay, touche. I know, as soon as I said it, I'm like, oh, Lauren's like, well, no shit, I didn't love this movie. Maybe they'll release a G version sometime that you can share with people.
Yeah. Okay.
Wait, what'd you say?
Maybe they'll release a version that's like rated G that they can show.
Oh, isn't there like a Funko Pop that we could get Lauren?
I'm sure.
And it'll soften the character a little bit.
Thank you, though, for your generosity.
I also have one of the other, he ends up being a producer for Terrifier 2 and 3. He was actually a part of Dread Central Presents that helped get Terrifier off the ground originally. So it holds a special place in his heart. His name is Steve Barton. He goes by Uncle Creepy on Instagram, and him and I have been talking about his love for horror movies and how much the Terrifier franchise and Damien Leone means to him. So he actually was very generous and sent me a voice memo. So I'm going to go ahead and play that for you guys just so you kind of get an idea of, some of the more of the blood, sweat, and tears that went into the beginning of this film.
So at one point in my career at Dread Central, the Big Pictures group had taken over, and they wanted to use Dread Central as sort of a vehicle for their horror DVD and Blu-ray releases. And one of my tasks was I was kind of saddled with trying to find some good movies for them to release. And Dread Central at that time was very personal to me. So I wanted to make a splash. I wanted it to be a movie that I wanted to see come out, and I wasn't finding anything. And then out of nowhere, Damien Leone emailed me because he saw my quote on the back of a box for Rob Zombie's 31. And he said, hey, I have this movie. I'm not having any luck finding a distributor for it. You could take a look at it for me, maybe give me a quote. And I was like, sure, man, So I got a reprieve from all the stuff I was going through for Epic. And I put on this movie and I just fell in love with it. I thought it was exactly what I had been looking for. So I called Damien back and I'm like, what are you doing with this? And it's like, nothing. I'm like, good, keep it that way until I could talk to the people I'm working with. And long story short, Epic Pictures, they acquired Terrifier. At first, they didn't know what to do with it. The guy who was leading the charge at that time was very short-sighted. He was kind of like upset that they acquired it. On my word, they were saying it was the worst movie ever. They didn't know how to market it. At this time, Stephen King's It was really big. And, as far as he was concerned, the world had its killer clown already. And this was just superfluous. And that's because he just didn't realize what Terrifier was. I did. And then we went through the whole, what should we do with this? Should we retitle it? Should we call it #Terrifier to get it into the higher spot in Redbox and all sorts of crap? And then they were like, should we edit it? And I'm like, if you take a single frame out of this movie, it's no longer Terrifier. It's just one of a dozen films. And it got to the point where they were so pissed that they had this movie, at least that's what this person was telling me, and it was a disaster and the worst money they ever spent and blah, 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 blah. So I said to them, if this movie doesn't perform like I know it's going to perform, you can have my half of the company. I put it on the line. That's how confident I was that this is exactly what needed to be out there. And I think they took me up on it, or he took me up on it at least, because it seemed like a real easy way to get rid of me. Yeah, man, I sure showed them. The movie ended up being quite a success for them. And that was it, man. I had nothing left to prove for Dread Central. And Terrifier is very much my swan song from that company. And if I had to go out in any way, that's the way I'm glad I was able to go out. And plus, I went out on top. I went out on my terms, and my message to this person to this very day is, fuck you. We did it. This was what we needed to be. I was right. You were wrong. And then Terrifier 2 started rumbling, and the rest is history, man. We together, collectively, we each contributed what we contributed to history, to horror history. And I'm very proud of that. And I will celebrate Art the Clown and his infamy for as long as I live.
How fucking cool, right? Like you said, what a big fuck you.
Yeah.
Terrifier is such a huge success. And regardless if you or anyone doesn't really love it, again, that's the great thing about film, but there's definitely a huge audience out there for Terrifier and Art the Clown in general. I'm really glad that Damien Leone, Steve Barton, the rest of the team just kept on trucking through and put their vision out there, and we are where we're at. So, hell yeah, I love that he took the time to do that. So, thank you, Steve.
Yeah, that was nice. Makes me feel even more
How do you feel now, Lauren?
Terribly guilty.
She takes it back. She loves it. It's her new favorite movie.
I always will be truthful with you.
Yes, no, that's That's why we have the reaction shot, and that's why I love getting you on too. So yeah. Well, he mentioned about how there was already a killer clown out there. The guy from Dread Central didn't really want another killer clown to be running around. So the great thing that they sold Art the Clown with is that he's the complete opposite of Pennywise. He doesn't talk. He doesn't have hair. He's not colorful. It's all black and white. I think that's all pretty cool to kind of make it stand out and literally be the polar opposite of Pennywise.
Had the new It, was that around when the new It came out too?
Yeah. I mean, I think the Terrifier short, The Ninth Circle, All Hallows Eve, and probably the filming of the original Terrifier, the new It hadn't been out yet, or at least just came out after they had already made that. So yeah, I mean, I think they kind of came out around the same time upon release. So
yeah. Okay.
Good times. Have you seen the It movies, Lauren?
No, I have not, Dave. No, I have not.
Ladies and gentlemen, catch us on a future episode of The Reaction
Why
Shot.
do I tell you these things? I should be like, yes, I saw it. I loved it.
Yeah, but then you know me, I'll quiz you and you'll get it wrong, and then
Yeah.
I'll know you're lying to
I
me.
know.
So it's fine. Cool. All right. Well, I guess we can talk about Art the Clown in general. How Art the Clown was actually played by somebody else for the Ninth Circle, for the Terrifier short film, and All Hallows Eve. He was actually played by one of Damien Leone's friend, who wasn't actually even an actor. So when Damien Leone approached him for the idea that they would be doing a feature-length film, the actor was like, I don't think that that's something I really want to do. He hated putting the prosthetics and makeup on every single day. He didn't love acting in general. So I think before it was kind of like a labor of love, best friend type of thing.
Mhm.
So once the idea of it could becoming a little bit more mainstream happened, he was just kind of like, well, I'm out. So they did some casting, and they actually had a few people that auditioned for Art the Clown for the film. It eventually ended up going to David Howard Thornton. It's his theatrical screen debut. So that's pretty cool. He has a background of miming.
Yeah.
So he brought that to his audition, as well as while auditioning for Art the Clown, he pretended that there was a corpse in front of him, and he decided to start pouring fake salt onto that corpse.
Mhm.
And Damien Leone was like, oh, that's so crazy and sadistic. I love it. So I think the combination of how great of an actor David Howard Thornton is, doing those little improv things really helped him land the role. And the rest is history with that. I mean, David Howard Thornton is 1000% Art the Clown. Zach and I actually met him and Damien Leone at a convention, and they're super nice, super down to earth. We talked to David Leone and David Howard Thornton together and separately. We also talked to David Howard Thornton in costume and out of costume.
Oh my
So
God.
that was pretty cool too. And when he was in costume, he was 1000% Art the Clown. He didn't talk. He did little creepy gestures and facial expressions. If you guys ever get a chance to go to a convention and meet them, do it. Lauren, you want to go?
No. It's funny because Courtney was like, I wonder what this guy looks like in real life. And then she pulled it up and she was like, oh my God, he's so cute.
Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. David Howard Thornton, if you're looking for some love. Courtney was not a fan of your film, but she thinks you're cute.
I will say the acting is really good by him. That was the one redeeming thing for me. So
David Howard Thornton actually described Art the Clown as being an evil Mr. Bean.
interesting.
I think that's pretty funny.
Yeah, I've never seen Mr. Bean.
Well, surprise, everyone.
I
Lauren's
know.
not seen it. I will say that won't be a future episode, so I'm sorry. He was inspired by silent and physical actors like Charlie Chaplin,
Mhm.
Buster Keaton, Doug Jones, and Jim Carrey. So I think he incorporated a lot of that style into the character along with his miming experience. So I think that adds something pretty neat to it. Yeah, so David Howard Thornton really embodies what we know of Art the Clown and what we see and his creepiness. So as, a normal everyday human, when we met him, he was super nice. He was very excited to talk about the projects. And something for you to know, Lauren, he was actually the Grinch in a horror film adaptation of The Grinch.
What are you saying? What are the words coming out of your mouth right now? Wait, what? A horror version of The Grinch? It's already horrible to begin with because he didn't have that big heart, I don't get it.
Yeah, so essentially the Grinch in the horror film version, he just goes on a killing spree in Whoville. So,
So
Oh.
wait, did the horror version of the Grinch not talk either?
so he doesn't,
Interesting.
which I feel like, to be honest, I'll be honest, I actually haven't seen the horror version of the Grinch, but I think that they should have went the speaking route with it because I think that would have been a really good time.
Yeah,
But
because that's so
I should definitely-
iconic with it, the rhyming and the singing with The Grinch. That's, yeah. It would have been interesting to see that with like a horror twist to it.
Yeah, the description of the film is, in a sleepy mountain town, Cindy's parents are murdered, and her Christmas is stolen by a bloodthirsty green figure in a red Santa suit.
Little Cindy Lou Who. This is the second time we've mentioned Cindy Lou Who.
Okay, we're creeping. We're getting close to Halloween and Christmas
I
time, so we're
know.
gonna start incorporating all of these things together.
Does she die?
Please tell me
I
Cindy
don't
Lou Who
know.
doesn't die.
Maybe she's the final girl. I don't know. We'll have to watch this.
She gets killed while caroling one of the Whoville
Oh, who the
songs.
door is up. Just-
Dead.
Dead. Yeah, that's probably how it goes.
Christmas.
I'm gonna crush your dreams one more time, Lauren.
Oh, please don't.
So coming up, the producers of the Terrifier films have a new movie coming out very soon. There's no trailers or anything yet for it, but there's, I believe they're done filming it. It's a horror version of the original Mickey Mouse,
No,
Steamboat Willie.
Stop it. First with Winnie the Pooh and then with, right? Wasn't there like a horror Winnie the Pooh? And now with Mickey Mouse?
There was a horror Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah.
What's that?
I can't.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Why?
So I think that's pretty exciting. I don't know. I think I don't know. I'm excited for it.
Oh my God. No.
I'll be sure to fill you in whenever it comes about.
I will not be seeing that one. Yeah.
All right, guys. Enough rumbling about all the love poured into this film. Terrifier has a great little cast of characters. A lot of them, this is their first time in film. First time doing certain things for movies. So we have a cast of Jenna Cannell as Tara, Catherine Corcoran as Dawn, Samantha Scafidi as Victoria, David Howard Thornton as Art the Clown, Puya Mosini, I apologize if I pronounced that wrong, she plays the Cat Lady.
Aw.
Katie McGuire plays Monica Brown. Matt McAllister plays Mike, the Exterminator. Gino Caffarelli as Steve. Eric Zamora as Ramon. Michael Levy as the Exterminator number 2. Jason Levy as Police Officer number 1. And Steven Della Sala as Police Officer number 2. Cute little cast of characters. Who's your favorite character, Lauren?
Emily.
Oh, Emily.
Emily the doll.
Wait, tell everyone who Emily is.
Emily's the doll.
The doll, Lauren? Of course, Emily the doll would be your favorite character.
It's funny because I told Zach when I was making sure I got all the character names correct. The mother of the doll, is known as Cat Lady in the film,
Yeah.
and I know she talks about cats. But I was like, she should be called the Baby Doll Lady, the Baby Doll Mom.
I definitely liked her the best.
She was your favorite.
Her and Emily.
Emily took that silent film thing to heart
Yeah.
for sure.
There was something so endearing about them, and I don't know, she had witchy vibes to me. I'm like, yeah, if anyone was going to take down Art the Clown, it was going to be her. To me.
A witchy bitch.
Yeah, witchy bitch. Yeah.
A witchy bitch.
Witchy bitch.
All right, kind of jumping in this film here. We open on a old school television. It is playing a news broadcast, and we hear a reporter talking about the sole survivor of the Miles County massacre. So, of course, as an audience, we have no idea what the Miles County Massacre is. However, she gives us some background, and she's interviewing that sole survivor. So on this TV, we're watching the reporter talk to one of the survivors. We don't fully see the survivor's face yet, but we're getting some information about this survivor waking up from a coma and seeing her face for the very first time. She said, "Is there anything you would like to share with us?" And of course, then at that moment, we get a glimpse of her face. And Zach, what does her face look like?
It kind of looks like she went through a wood chipper, but not. It's very unsettling. It looks like she lost an eye. One eye looks like it may or may not be functioning properly. So overall, not good.
Not good indeed.
So casual.
Yeah, her face is really fucked up. The reporter talks to her about the person who was assumed to be a part of this all, someone that can only go by the name of Art the Clown, her attacker. There's conflicting reports that Art the Clown may still be alive. However, this person tells us that Art the Clown is indeed dead. However, as we're watching this news report on this old school television, we see a clown-like figure kick the television, and we are introduced to Art the Clown as he slowly puts on his iconic outfit. Lauren, what did you think of that outfit? All of his makeup and his prosthetic.
There are no words that I have for this outfit. It's truly terrifying. It's, it's like almost like old school clown, almost a little bit, like what you think like a clown would be in like 1900 or something like that kind of outfit. That's what I thought. And then his makeup is so scary. The teeth are, do you think those are not the real teeth, right? That's like, are those his real teeth?
Those are not his real teeth. Nope. No, those are not his real teeth.
And the teeny tiny hat.
Oh, that would be
teeny tiny hat.
In the teeny tiny, yeah. You gotta add the hat.
Mm-hmm.
So after the broadcast, we cut to the reporter sitting in our dressing room, reapplying her makeup, and she's talking to a friend on the phone. On the phone, she's talking about how disgusting the woman that she was interviewing looked, how fucked up her face was, and she felt like that person would attack her at any minute. But this was something that she had to do. This reporter is being a complete bitch. Her name is Monica Brown, and we do not like Monica Brown. She is an awful reporter talking a lot of shit on a survivor of violence. So in this moment, Monica Brown comes to an end when she is attacked in her dressing room by the person, the sole survivor, with that cute little face.
Mm-hmm.
They attack her from a rack of clothes. She jumps out, jumps on top of her, and literally pulls out her eyeballs. She's laughing at Monica being dead with blood everywhere, while Monica's still holding on to life, suffering, and slowly dying. And we smash cut to the title card of Terrifier.
Mm.
So this opening sequence, when you first watched it last night, Lauren, what were your feelings?
Oh my gosh, I was like, Monica's dead immediately. I'm like, this woman is not going to survive for the next 5 minutes. But
Yep.
I honestly thought it would be Art to kill her and not. Can I assume, would it be spoily if I ask that woman is who I think it is, right?
Yes, we'll get more to the survivor in a little bit.
I won't say anything then. But really, this the beginning of the movie is the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Right?
And it's funny that you say that. No, you're right. So the beginning of this film is actually the ending of the film. It makes a complete circle.
Mm-hmm.
So when we are in the dressing room and Monica is talking on the phone, there's actually a poster in the background that says the end is just a new beginning, which was kind of a little inside joke to tell you that, this is actually the end of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was a cool little addition.
Yeah.
Zach, what did you think about the scene the first time you saw it, the first time you watched it without me?
I feel like the opening scene did a really good job at setting the tone for the movie in general. Just the goriness and the gruesomeness of the attack and the kill. It kind of made me excited to see what else would unfold in the movie and what other gruesome kills, hopefully, we would encounter. But yeah, I really think it did a good job at setting the tone for the movie in general.
Yeah, so we quickly cut to two girls. We're introduced to who we assume will be our main characters, Tara and Dawn. They are dressed in Halloween costumes, seemingly have just left a Halloween party, definitely drunk. And as they're walking to their car in this town where no one seems to be living, there's literally no other people in this area right now. They're on the streets all alone. But Tara actually ends up seeing Art the Clown over in the corner, walking down a little alleyway, and she's kind of grossed out by how he looks, and Dawn's is completely oblivious and doesn't really care. They end up going to a pizza shop so they can sober up a little bit. And while they're at the Pizza Hut, they realize their phones are pretty much dead, except for Dawn, who is talking to a guy that he wants to hook up with her. So while they're sitting in the diner waiting for their pizza to be made, good old Art the Clown enters the diner and sits across from them and just keeps on staring at Tara.
Mm-hmm.
Dawn notices that they're staring at one another, and Art starts making some really silly faces. Or are they creepy faces, Lauren?
They're the creepiest fucking faces ever. Yes.
I have to say, so this is our first time seeing in the film, right? I feel like whenever he's in that street or alleyway, wherever they were like the first camera shot of him, I feel like it's dark. He looks super creepy, but it's the first time you kind of like notice his scale. Like he's not a huge guy. He's kind of slim. And to your point earlier, Lauren, like his costume, it's not like over the top. It kind of reminds you of like old school like clown vibes. So there's no like huge ruffles or anything. So it kind of allows his like stature and frame to stick out even more. So when I first saw him, I was like, how bad can this guy really be? Like, what could he really do that's so bad or so horrible? Right? And then they're in the pizza shop, and then you start seeing him make these ridiculous faces, and you don't know if you want to be creeped out by what he's doing or if you want to laugh because it is kind of silly, right? It's a bit campy, silly, but also super creepy. I feel like this is a good first look at picking up on the overall vibe of Art.
Yeah, very good point. That's the one thing that I think David Howard Thornton does so well is there is somewhat of a silliness to Art the Clown. And, going into this film, this is a horror movie and you know that he is the villain. However, to Zach's point as well, they do a really good job of just kind of being like, oh, well, some people are reacting like Dawn is, where she's just like, oh, it's a clown. He's being silly.
Yeah.
He's here to, make us laugh. And then there's people like Tara, who's like, this guy's really creepy. I don't get good vibes. I think I'd probably be a Dawn in this moment. Or I'd like to think that I was a Dawn in the moment. Lauren actually texted me last night and said, fuck this Dawn girl.
Oh my God. This dumb bitch. Like, I swear to God.
What does Dawn do now? She doesn't think he's creepy, so what does she do?
She just goes and sits on his lap and takes a selfie with him. Like, are you insane? Are you joking me right now? No. Oh my God. Also, Tara's a mini Nev Campbell.
Tara is a mini Nev Campbell. Yeah, I think the first time we ever watched this, we were talking about how she really does look like Nev Campbell. And
do you think she gets annoyed that people say that?
Probably.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like that's definitely.
I mean, that's probably pretty flattering too.
No,
right?
it's a compliment for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, she's probably like, can I be known as myself instead of Nev Campbell? But hey, you know what? Look like Nev Campbell. That's great. So Art gets his picture taken with Dawn. He then gets up and goes over to a table where he steals a server's tip. Rude. And he puts a quarter into a gumball machine and actually gets out a little ring from a gift and takes it over to Tara and gives her the ring. Super creepy. He, does his little clown act and, Dawn's like, oh, he's so cute. And Tara's like, no. So pizza finally arrives. The girls start eating and they decide to kick Art the Clown out because he had disappeared while they're eating their pizza and went to the bathroom. And they kick him out and said, we can't believe you did that. What a creep. And Art the Clown grabs his little black garbage bag from outside and takes it with him. and goes off into the distance, and that's the end of the movie.
I will say, Dave, don't get mad at me, but before you mentioned it, I don't think I knew that David Howard Thornton had a background in miming. I feel like you really start to pick up on that aspect of the character and David's background and the scene in the pizza shop because he says so much with his gestures. Although he's not saying anything, like it's like you know exactly what he's trying to say. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. I think, there's nothing wrong with the guy who played Art the Clown prior to this film, but David Howard Thornton just brings a certain energy, creepiness, and campiness to the character, and it's kind of like perfect casting.
I mean, you guys saw
So
this
Dawn and Tara,
before, right? Like the Hallows Eve, right? You've seen that.
All Hallows
Yeah.
Eve. Yep. Are you gonna watch it tonight?
No. I'm going to watch
Okay.
Bob's Burgers and
Okay.
Lauren, did you think so? One of my takeaways about like the beginning of this film, like obviously not every movie is like, oh, this could happen in a town near you, blah blah blah. But I think this movie did a really good job at like it literally looks like it somewhere like we would live, right, Lauren?
why
But it
why are you putting this in my head?
sorry, I'm not trying to freak you out, right? But it's like it literally could be the pizza shop up the street that like we would go to, right? So I thought that just added like an extra layerness of like an extra layer of creepiness. But also I feel like you don't really see a whole bunch of other people on the street with the girls, Dawn and Tara, when they're walking out of the pizza shop. So it also makes it a little bit more creepy because even before we just saw them with Art. So it's like, where is everyone? And it's just like we're laser focused on these characters.
Like presumably this is, did I say that wrong? Presumably.
I think it's a great word. Presumably.
How do you say it? Like I'm losing it right now. Presumably. Thank you.
Presumably.
Okay, I said it myself.
No, I love it. We're all about creating new words on here. Just go with it.
I'm assuming that this is like after the party, so it's like 2 or 3 in the morning. That's what I'm gathering.
Yeah. And there's literally everyone was asleep by 2 a.m. it appears. So
boring, especially on Halloween.
No losers. Come on now. So Dawn and Tara have finished eating their pizza. They're on their way walking back to their car when they realize they have a flat.
What are the odds?
What are the odds, ladies and gentlemen?
Yeah.
So as an audience, we cut back to the pizza parlor and we have the guy who is prepping the pizza in the bathroom, cleaning up a bunch of shit in the bathroom. He's saying how gross it is and he can't believe that he has to do this. And he even mentions, I'm the guy that makes the pizza. Why am I doing this? So there's a fun little shot of a jack-o'-lantern on the countertop in the pizza shop. Fun fact about this jack-o'-lantern, it's not real. It's a CGI jack-o'-lantern.
What?
So all the bloody effects in this movie are all practical effects, but Damien Leone thought that there needed to be more of a Halloween presence in the film, so he CGI'd in a jack-o'-lantern on the countertop. Super cute jack-o'-lantern. Good job. At this point in time, we cut back to Dawn and Tara. Tara is calling her sister, Victoria, asking her to come pick them up because of their flat tire. Finally, Victoria's like, yes, I will head to you guys now. It might take me a little bit of time. And Dawn and Tara decide to just wait in the car to wait out for Victoria's arrival. We cut back to the pizza parlor, and Art the Clown shows up. He's back in this pizza parlor. And in that discovery, the guy who leaves the bathroom finds the head of the main pizza parlor guy. His head is chopped off and decorated to look like a jack-o'-lantern in place of that CGI pumpkin. There's little lights, little candle light in his eyes and everything. So this guy's like, fuck, get me out of here. Somebody help. And Art the Clown takes care of him.
This poor guy.
What does he do to him, Lauren? Do you remember?
I don't remember because I wasn't looking at this point. So
why were you looking?
Are you kidding
What were you
me?
looking away from?
My hand was over my eyes for like 50% of this movie.
Do you think he carved his face before he cut off his head or after?
What a question.
That's a good question.
Oh my God.
That's a great
Lauren.
What a question.
This is why I wanted Zach on this episode, because I knew he would ask all the right shit. Yeah.
So he didn't come back for the pizza. He came back to make a jack-o'-lantern.
He came back to make a jack-o'-lantern. Art was like, you know what? Halloween's ending, so I need to make my jack-o'-lantern. So he maimed the face of the pizza parlor guy and then attacks the other guy, and there is a lot of blood. He just keeps stabbing him repeatedly in the face. He even stabs him with the knife right in the eye. I mean, this is a bloody good time, guys.
No.
A good time.
Bloody good time. Right.
While this is happening, we actually cut back and forth to
Yes, Lauren.
Okay.
Lauren trying to make these little jokes to try to get away from the
Yeah.
fact that we have to talk about all the violence that she had to witness last
Yep.
night.
So I have a question. So the pizza shop guys are, there's two of them. They seem like they could be pretty hefty, pretty strong. I was wondering, where did this superhuman strength come from where art could just overpower them? Didn't you mention that there might be a certain sort of supernatural component to the character as well? Or it could be two things, it could be adrenaline that causes them to have this strength to just do such gruesome things as a run solo, or do you think there's some sort of supernatural aspect as well that could contribute?
So I think, Zach and I did talk about this last night with All Hallows Eve. There's a lot of points to make it that Art the Clown has a supernatural element to him. It's not very present in this film, maybe up until the very end where we kind of get a glimpse of that possibility. In Terrifier 2, they definitely get into that conversation a little bit more and show us a little bit more of the possibility of supernatural. So I do think, obviously with horror films, we're suspending belief a lot, and we can chalk it up to saying that it is the adrenaline, that Art the Clown is attacking off of the adrenaline and that want to kill, and finding the right, amount of strength to take these guys down and do what he does.
Maybe he's just like a ninja and very strategic with his moves, like
Pacha. Yeah, I think so. I think he's very ninja-like.
Yeah. I mean, also he has the element
and element of surprise for sure.
Yeah, element of surprise.
Tara and Dawn are in the car having a conversation, and while they're waiting for Victoria, Tara's sister, to come, Tara basically is like, "Yo, I gotta piss really bad." There happens to be a guy standing outside of this warehouse, apartment complex type of place, and she asks him if he will let her in so she can use the restroom. He's like, "Yeah, sure, let me take you through." So we're kind of walking through this warehouse-looking area, and he takes her to what might be one of the most disgusting restrooms ever. At that point in time, I think I would just not pee, or I would decide just to pee somewhere else random. Would you pee in a restroom like that, Lauren?
If I really had to go, yeah.
Well, I think that is where we're at.
Lauren's like, I would just pee outside, bro.
Honestly,
I mean, there's no one on the street. You might as well.
Exactly. I remember, being in their age. Oh my God, I just said that. Tara and Dawn's age, and in my not finest moments, peeing outside somewhere in South Side, behind cars and stuff. I can't believe I just admitted that, but yeah.
Sure, Lauren.
Yeah.
You dropped trowel in the middle of the street and pissed all over the
Not
floor.
in the middle of the street. It was behind. I was hidden. But yeah, I've definitely. They did a lot of things wrong, these two. Especially Dawn.
These two did do a lot of things wrong. They really did. So now we're in the restroom. Dawn goes ahead and uses that restroom. And we cut back to Tara, who's just hanging out in the car, looking at all of her pictures from her fun night out. She even stumbles across the picture she took with Mr. Art the Clown in the pizzeria. And she's like, "Oh, so cute." Good times. The radio's playing in the background, and we hear a commercial for Craven Halloween Store. It is named Craven Halloween Store in honor of the late Wes Craven, who directed my favorite movie, Scream. Damien Leone obviously looks up to these horror directing legends such as Wes Craven himself, so that's a cute little teaser that he threw in there. Also, there's an ambulance that flies by while she's sitting in the car looking at these pictures, and that ambulance was actually a real ambulance, and it just happened to go by while they were filming the scene.
Oh, wow.
And they were like, "Well, that actually worked really well, so I hope whoever was in that ambulance or about to be is okay, but thank you for contributing to a little something in Terrifier."
So I feel like, listen, you'll probably get to this in a second, Dave, but I feel like listening to the radio in the car, again, Dawn's in the car listening. Lauren, I don't know if you had the same reaction. I was like, were people still listening to the radio at that time? You know what I mean? There was a CD player in the car, but I couldn't remember if streaming services really took off at that time, where people were still listening to the radio?
Yeah,
I don't
no,
rem-
streaming
like
services were definitely
2016. I'm trying to like
pretty
think.
popular.
Right, it would be 2016 unless 2016. I mean, I occasionally listen to the radio, but I also still have a CD player
Christmas
in my
stations,
car.
right?
All day
We
Christmas
love that.
stations 94.5.
So essentially, Lauren is Dawn, is what we're learning. I'm just kidding. I
No,
would never
I'm not
say you
Dawn.
were Dawn.
No way. What an insult.
She's gonna kill you.
What an insult. I'm so sorry. I don't mean to insult you. So while this ambulance goes by, she's listening to the radio and looking at all of her pictures. The car door opens, but she's so immersed into her phone, like most young kids are these days. Damn it, children. She assumes that it's Tara who's getting back in the car. But she looks over and it's Art the Clown. He got into the car and sat right in the passenger seat.
She locked the freaking
Should we
door.
back up?
She's crazy.
Or
Yeah.
Art just somehow like figured out how to unlock the door. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe he's forgotten his key locked his keys in his car a couple times and has just figured out how to get in. Wait, Dave, shouldn't we back up a minute? Did you say what the message was that played over the radio? The announcement?
Oh, yes. Thank you, Zach.
Yeah.
What was it?
So whenever Dawn is in the car before Art the Clown gets in, they hear like the announcer on the news comes in, they're like breaking news or something to that effect, and they talk about how there was a crime that was committed at the pizza shop that they were just at, and they described the character of Art the Clown, like, be on the lookout for this dude. And then Dawn starts, like, she realizes, like, oh my god, that was the guy that I was sitting on his lap, like, taking pictures. He tried to propose to me with I want to say like a Cracker Jack box ring, but it was one of the rings out of the candy dispenser in the shop. And she's like, oh my god, like, it's that guy. And then that's when kind of she looks over and the camera pans and suddenly Art is in the car with her.
Yeah, very good.
So she's in deep shit.
Yeah, so that's Zach's correct. I mean, that announcement right there just kind of sets up the story where she's just kind of like, oh fuck, I just took a picture with this dude and he just murdered all those dudes in the pizza shop. So whenever she heard the car door open, because she was immersed in her phone, she assumed that it was Tara getting in there, but it was Art the Clown. So she looks scared, but we cut away really fast, and Tara is walking through this warehouse now, kind of checking everything out, and she runs across and meets someone pretty interesting. Lauren, who does she meet?
What's her name? I don't know her name, but it's the cat lady.
It's the cat lady. That's
It's
she's
her
only
name, the
referred
cat
to as the
lady?
cat lady.
Okay, so she
Yeah,
doesn't
I
have
don't
like
think
a
they use
character
her name, so I think just like for credit purpose, yeah. And what is she holding?
She's holding baby Emily, which is actually a like
Baby Emily.
creepy Victorian doll, like a creepy Victorian baby doll, I would say.
Yeah, it actually looks like the baby doll that Lauren Blow showed to us, Zach, before it got its face smashed in. We'll talk about that another time.
Oh yeah, but
Okay.
also Lauren, I feel like this is totally a doll that you would have.
Do you have a
I-
doll like this, Lauren?
Not anymore. Maybe when I was like younger.
Well, we're gonna buy you a similar doll and name her Emily,
Yeah.
and
Like-
send it to you.
I
welcome.
love Emily and Cat Lady. I don't know why, or maybe it's because
That was good.
she's
So-
me. Just kidding. I'm just
Well,
kidding.
Cat Lady is very excited to run into Tara because she's excited for new neighbors. And
Mhm.
from my understanding, I don't know if it's explicitly explained. If it is, I apologize to everyone, but I feel like this is a warehouse on the bottom, and then on top of it are apartments, and they can like access the apartments a specific way because they usually refer to like people in the building. And she talks about getting excited to have new neighbors. So I don't know if we ever really fully see that
Yeah.
kind of design play out, but needless to say, Cat Lady is excited because she's alone with her cats and her baby doll Emily. So super excited. She's like, oh, so glad to meet you, Tara. And as Tara goes about her way, walking through, she runs into an entrance which looks like the entrance of the apartment building. So I just answered my own question, and there in the doorway on the inside is Art the Clown, standing very still with his hands kind of up in the air by his face, like he's being summoned by the police officers to put his hands up. He's got a lot of blood on him and a scalpel in his hand. So the last we saw him, he was in the car with Dawn, so we can only assume the worst. He then lunges towards her as Tara runs, in natural horror movie way, she trips and falls down the steps
Like,
and
come on, girl. Are you
tries to
serious
escape
right now?
through.
You're going to fall down
Yeah,
those stairs.
so, and here we're kind of like in a little cat and mouse scene. So in the warehouse part of all of this, there's a bunch of cars. She's hiding behind one of the cars as Art is moving through the area, peeking in windows and trying to figure out where the fuck she's hiding. So pretty tense moment of trying to figure it out. Tara's watching his big old clown shoes from underneath the cars. She keeps creeping around, hoping that he never catches her. And obviously eventually does by slicing the back of her leg and throwing her to the ground, jumping on top of her and trying to choke her. What are you thinking about the movie at this point, Lauren?
Not good thoughts. That's for sure.
Not good thoughts.
Yeah, not good thoughts. I'm thinking Dawn is dead. The reality is
Okay.
much, much worse, but we'll get to that.
I think she's fine. So fortunately, Tara actually fights Art off of her and she grabs a weapon. I think it's like a pole of some kind, and she hides from him, but of course he keeps lurking around trying to figure it out. We cut to Victoria as she's driving to come get her sister and her friend. Tara continues throughout the building. She finally escapes being in the same room as Art, and she runs into the exterminator again, who's watching her. And just as she goes to say something to the exterminator, Art creeps up behind her, grabs her, and puts a needle into her neck, knocking her unconscious. We wake up with Tara now tied to a chair with duct tape, including duct tape over her mouth. And we see a large sheet hanging from the ceiling, as well as Art digging into his black garbage bag that he's been carrying around. You know, up to this point, we were kind of like, well, what the fuck's in that black garbage bag? And we discovered that there's a bunch of weapons there. He keeps pulling a bunch of different random weapons out, pretending like he's going to attack Tara. However, he never does. He's just taunting her. He finally grabs a rusty, old, creepy-looking hacksaw. He shows it to her and pretends like he's going to saw her neck and basically says, "Just kidding." And by says, I mean he doesn't speak at all. But David Howard Thornton is such a good actor.
Can I say something?
Yeah. What's up?
So Tara being in the chair with the strapped down with the duct tape over her mouth. This is completely random, but one of my biggest fears as a kid is like, what if you were like, when I was sick and had a stuffy nose, I was like, what if I would be kidnapped and I would have like duct tape or whatever put over my mouth? Like, would you think Art would have been disappointed if she would have like suffocated and died before he could torture her even further? Like, if that was the case? I don't even know if that's possible.
You are so good at asking the right questions.
Yeah, I thought the same thing.
I mean,
I think we all did.
Normal childhood thoughts. I remember thinking that when I was like 5 years old in kindergarten. Like, these irrational fears. No, sorry, but in all seriousness, like, I was just randomly thinking that. But in all seriousness, right? Like, how creepy to just wake up, you're trying to escape this dude, and then you wake up strapped to a chair, and you're like, oh my gosh.
I have a cold and I'm going to die right here in this chair.
Exactly.
Death by stuffy nose. Art would have been pissed.
That was good.
All right, guys. We're now at a very important scene of this film.
Is it?
This scene is probably what this film is remembered for.
This is probably the most iconic scene of the film.
Anyone who has seen Terrifier will always talk about this film. And there's a lot of different views of this scene. So, Art decides to not hurt Tara with that hacksaw, but to walk over to the large white sheet that's hanging from the ceiling. As he approaches the white sheet, he turns and looks at Tara, gives her a nice clown-like smile, and rips the sheet from the wall. What does this reveal? And what was your response before anything happened? Just what we saw in this moment.
Are you asking me? Or Zach?
Lauren, we want to know what you...
I want to know what you think, girl.
Are you serious right now? It reveals Dawn, like, hanging upside down by her ankles. And she has, like, duct tape over her mouth, I think. But I'm just like...
She does, yeah.
Oh, shit. He's going to kill her friend in front of...
Yeah, so... Okay, well, I'll replay it for you.
No.
I'll put it on my phone and put it right up to the camera so you can see it. No? Okay,
I'm good.
That's really rude. So yes, Lauren painted the perfect picture. Dawn is now upside down being held up by her ankles with some chains, duct tape around her mouth. She has no shirt on, no bra, just underwear. She's shaking from absolute fear, for sure. She's trying to scream for help. It's all muffled out. Art gives her a little push on the nose in a super creepy clown-like way. And the thing about this scene is that everything I'm about to say, we see it all happen. That's the thing about this film, is that it just doesn't cut away. We watch the cuts happen, so we don't cut away. We watch as he cuts away at this person.
Oh my God.
So he rips her underwear off, grabs the saw, and essentially cuts her, to put it lightly, from her crotch all the way down to her head. He does it very slowly. There's tons of blood. And as he works his way closer and closer down to her head, she obviously dies. And before he can completely finish what he's doing, Tara actually ends up pulling herself out of the duct tape from the chair. So Art has cut her from the center of her body all the way down to probably about her nose. So we see a nice little view of her in a basically now wider opened V shape with her intestines on the ground and obviously blood everywhere.
Okay. You're painting this picture too well.
We obviously know what, by this point, we know what Art is capable of, right? We saw what he did to the guys in the pizza shop. But to me, this is like the lowest of the low, like literal scum. Like the way he tied up Tara and Dawn, there's just such a sense of helplessness. And especially with Dawn and the fashion that he not only tied her up, but being upside down, being basically naked, hands tied behind the back, duct tape over the mouth, just like complete vulnerability and helplessness. And just the two girls looking at each other, like obviously, you know, they're good friends, they care about each other. That was really fucked up to me. But then also just like the way that the kill happened for Dawn, it kind of reminded me of human slaughter. Like just the fact that he started, like as Dave said, with a freaking saw. Like it could have been a pretty dull saw too, so like the cut wouldn't have even been clean. It could have been really like rough and gross. But could you imagine just hanging upside down, being cut from that part of your body up to your head, starting to, like, her mouth was duct taped, so the blood wouldn't even go in the mouth, but she was probably snorting the blood in her nose. Her intestines fell out on the ground, and her friend is just watching this. Like, it's completely vile and disgusting. And not to be like the comedic relief. And just to back up a second, but not to be the comedic relief, because I don't want to take away from the violent nature of this kill and like how iconic it is. But me being me, I couldn't help but think, like, how long do you think Dawn was hanging upside down for? Because can't you only go a certain amount of time before you pass out or lose consciousness? She was fully awake and fully aware of what was happening, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks,
This is a
Zach,
very
for the
sadistic kill.
more detailed painting.
Well, if you didn't know, if your eyes were covered, Lauren, hopefully that helps paint the picture a little bit better about what you missed.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah, no,
you
you
for
get the-
filling in the blanks. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I had to like take off my
Just having a
sweater. I'm
bright
like
time.
hot, and this is like
But I mean, just to like finish the scene, right? He like literally saws her all the way in half. So like by the end of the scene, like literally
Okay,
there's
Teddy,
two
come
parts
on.
of her. She's completely cut in half, which is super disturbing, graphic.
Yeah, so this scene, as I mentioned, this scene set Terrifier apart from a lot of other film. It's very rare for a film that doesn't have a rating, such as R, PG-13, to be in theaters. So the fact that it's got such a big release for the type of film that it is pretty crazy. And the fact that, as Steve Barton mentioned, he didn't want there to be any edits, and Damien Leone didn't want studios to take over Terrifier 2 or 3 because what makes Terrifier stand out is the super violent, gory nature. And I'll be honest, I'm not usually a huge gore fan, I don't mind it. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't gross me out. I usually like the substance of the storytelling and the characters. And well, I'll be honest, there's not a lot of that here, which is why it's interesting that I really do love this movie as much as I do. However, I think that because it's so creative, lack for a better word, kills that happen, and because of the practical effects as opposed to CGI, it just makes it, again, it just really makes it stand out. And I give a lot of credit to the film and filmmakers for all that.
I was gonna say the practical effects, in my opinion, it just makes you feel it that much more, and it makes it that much more disturbing and graphic and gross. So
Damien Leone mentioned that he likes the actors to be as much a part of what's happening with the practical effects until they can no longer be. So when you're watching the scene, while he's sawing her in half, it's really the actress, obviously there's a lot of, special effects happening, practical effects happening, but he's actually sawing her in half all the way down to essentially he reaches like her breast or neck area. And then that's when it switches to a dummy, because at that point in time,
Oh, sorry. Did you hear that? Sorry.
I did. Is Art the Clown there?
No,
I think it's Emily coming to see you.
No, my cat knocked down like a picture frame. So, okay. Sorry.
Yeah, that's usually what the horror victims say before Art the Clown pops up. But it's fine.
Of course, Chewy does this.
We're on camera, so
yeah.
Damn it, Chewy. We love it. Just come and say hi, So again, the scene really sticks out. I know we're spending a lot of time talking about it, but Terrifier is always remembered for this scene. This turned a lot of people off and away from this film. It also turned a lot of people on to wanting to watch the film because of its originality. Damien Leone was actually looking for some original horror scenes. He grew up on horror films. His mom was a huge horror movie fanatic. She even let him watch horror movies when he was really young. Like around the age of 5 or 6.
Wow.
Just like me. He's actually named after Damien, the Antichrist, from the horror film series The Omen. So
he's named after that? OMG. I cannot.
I think that's awesome. So kudos to Mrs. Leone. Yeah, so he was kind of trying to come up with some different ideas since he's been such a big horror fan since he was young. And he started reading a bunch of medieval torture books, reading about medieval times and how they used to torture certain people. So he drew a lot of inspiration from those murders to incorporate them in the film. So there were people that were split into V's.
I'm sure.
I'm sure. So lucky for Tara actually gets away. She said, fuck this dude, I'm out of here. Obviously traumatized by what she just saw. Art's creeping around looking for her. Essentially the rest of the film is kind of like a cat and mouse game. Tara ends up jumping out and smacking him with a board that she found, and he's like, oh shit. So in a crazy turn of events, because Tara is ultimately winning in this moment by having this big board that she's hitting him with, he decides to flip the script and grab a gun, and he shoots her in the leg. So this is very uncommon for horror icons to use a gun. Usually the murders are a lot more intimate, such as knives or anything that will be having the victims and the killers closer together. For that to happen was kind of a shock. We quickly cut to our cat lady. She hears the gunshot, and
she also, the shot includes Fancy Feast, so she feeds her cat Fancy Feast. So she really cares about that cat.
This is why she's cat lady.
I didn't know.
And she's checking on Emily. She heard that. You should rewatch it to see it.
No.
Oh my god, you gave me a lot of no's today. I don't know if I like this. So with that quick cut, we see that she's making sure Emily's okay because of that loud gunshot she heard, but she just ignores it. This might just be an everyday occurrence in this warehouse. Tara is struggling for her life, and here we go. Art decides to keep that gun on him, and he shoots her right in the stomach. And then he shoots her again. And where does he shoot her at, Lauren?
The head.
So he actually shoots her in the cheek.
Oh, right. Oh, wait, not yet.
That's still on the head.
Yes,
yeah.
Technically.
Oh, yeah, it's a part of her head.
And then he eventually, never mind. He shoots her in the cheek right now. Yes.
Yeah, so She's been shot in the cheek, and just at this time, Victoria. This is a fun movie, guys. I hope everyone that's listening has either A, seen this movie or is down to watch it. At this time, Victoria finally arrives to the warehouse where she finally arrives to the warehouse where she knows that her sister and friend are, and she gets a text message, but that text message is not being sent by Dawn or Tara. The text message is actually being sent by Art the Clown using Dawn's phone. Basically says, come on inside.
So he does understand English.
He does
just has to
understand English. Yes.
text it, not speak it.
Yes.
But also, how nice of Victoria to just come after her all-nighter of leave her all-nighter of studying to come pick up.
I would have stayed in the car.
Yeah, you know what, Victoria?
I'd be like, come out. I'm not going in.
Right.
Ugh.
So now Art the Clown obviously has Dawn's phone, which has the picture of his selfie with Dawn from the pizza parlor. So since Art has the clown, Art is the clown, so he has the clown body. Since Art has her phone, he decides what a great opportunity to take a selfie with Dawn again in her new state of facial reconstruction. So he decides to take that selfie with her. Did you get to see the selfie, Lauren, when you were watching this between your fingers?
Wasn't prepared for that. So yes, I did witness that.
Good,
yes.
I'm glad.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so a cute little selfie. Nice little follow-up, kind of like a now versus then Instagram post.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That was then, this is now.
It's kind of like that shot. It just kind of reminded me of like a case study on anatomy, like pre versus post mortem. What happens if you saw someone in half?
Yeah, the Terrifier team really put a lot of thought into that. That was their goal.
I'm sweating.
Art takes that selfie, sends that text message, and walks right back over to where Tara is. And because she's still alive, he's pissed and decides to shoot that bitch right in the head.
Okay, so that's what I was referring to before.
Yeah. And then he shoots her again, and then again, and again, because, minimal blood is not enough for Art. He needs to make sure the job is done. He looks so sadistic in the scene, too, like, so proud. And of course, the cat lady appears. She's watching him. He gives her a little smile and a little wave.
I hate
super cute.
that when he smiles, it's like chilling.
I feel like, I agree, Lauren. I feel like in the moment when he shoots her in the head, Tara that is, I feel like we have a full understanding of his just blatant disregard for life in general, right? Like, we already know that by now from the pizza shop and the sawing in half of Dawn. But just like the point blank killing with a gun, like it takes the personal aspect out of it. I mean, it's still personal, right? But he's like, I don't care. I'm just gonna kill her. And then just that look on his face, I can't even describe it. It's just like sadistic, like you said, Dave, just like disgust. And like the way he just turns and looks at the cat lady, like in that moment, it's just blatant disregard for life. And I thought that was extremely creepy and horrific.
Yeah, 100%. And just like our feelings right now, cat lady says, I gotta put an end to this. So she goes running to try to find help. And she runs into Mike the Exterminator. She begs him to call the cops. She explains what Art the Clown looks like. Just then, good old Art the Clown shows up and takes a hammer right to Mike the Exterminator's head and gives him a little wave because he knows that motherfucker is dead. He sees Mike's cell phone, which is on, and he decides to smash the smithereens out of that cell phone. So all the cell phones are pretty much taken away from this scenario now, so there's not really any help. Cat lady goes back to her little lair in the warehouse because I don't think she lives in the apartment. I don't know what cat lady's doing.
I feel like she lives in the
She's
basement.
checking on Emily, and Emily is gone. Yeah, Emily's gone. Emily's missing.
This is the most terrifying part of it all.
Victoria's still walking around this place, but cat lady walks through these little tunnel-like areas in the building, and she sees Art sitting down, basically holding on to Emily the doll, rocking her back and forth. And she says, "Can I see it, Emily? Mommy's here." All the while, Art the Clown is waving at the...
He's clearly trying to lure her, right?
For sure. Yeah, and this is, I think this seems great. I think again, art, I think this film in general just kind of really sets up how fucking crazy Art the Clown is. So Cat Lady gets really close to him. She's right next to him. She reaches down, tries to grab Emily, but realizes that Art is having a moment. And while she watches him rock her baby doll back and forth, she decides to speak with him, and she says, "Is there kindness in you? Somewhere in your heart?" And, he kind of looks up at her like, "The fuck you asking me, lady?"
Save it for Terrifier 3 in the Christmas.
Yeah. Save
See,
it for that.
that's when the kindness will come out.
Yeah.
No.
And then she asks him, have you ever felt a mother's touch? He just kind of looks at her. She reaches for him. She puts her hand on his head, and she brings him close to her. And he kind of, lets it happen. He leans himself into her too. And he actually puts his finger in his mouth to suck his thumb like a little baby. What did you think about this, Lauren?
I was like, what the fuck is happening right now? I was like, okay, maybe he's gonna be nice now. Definitely not.
Maybe.
Maybe he'll be nice now.
Definitely.
That's the naive. Like, I'm naive like the cat lady, because I would be like, there's some good in you. I can see it. Like, that would be me. That's why I relate to her so much.
That's good. While she's having this moment with Art, we have another exterminator show up to help with the extermination of this building. This is actually Michael Levy, who is the brother of Jason Levy. Jason Levy is the one who responded to me on Instagram with the quote that I read earlier. The two of them together, along with one of the other actors, actually created a film production company called Fuzz on the Lens, and they are the producers of Terrifier 2 and 3. So I think that's pretty cool. They went from, little small parts and stuff in this film to being a big part of the future of the franchise. So he's waiting outside trying to get into the building, just like everyone else, trying to find their way around this place. Victoria runs into Dawn's dead, half ripped open body, and she comes across a woman. And the woman lying there is none other than Cat Lady. Cat Lady, we can't really see Cat Lady's face because she's lying down on the ground. She seems to be hurt, so we assume Art has taken care of her. And just as she reaches over to help Cat Lady up, she hears a noise and looks over and sees who we know as Cat Lady lying away from the person that she's speaking to. And Cat Lady has the skin of her breast missing and the top of her head, her scalp, missing as well. So that's super cute. And we discover that who Victoria is talking to, who she thinks is suffering, is actually Art the Clown. And now he is wearing the hair and the scalp of Cat Lady, as well as the skin of her breast over his chest. So, yeah. How'd you feel about that, Lauren?
To me, this was the creepiest part of this movie. And the way he acts after, like, having, like, her skin and her hair on him, like, acting like girly and being like, like, that was so freaking creepy. I can't. Oh, this was the creepiest part for me.
I agree, Lauren. It was one of the more creepier parts to me as well. It was another example of how gruesome and horrific and taunting Art is, and just the blatant disregard for human life. But I don't know if you remember, Lauren, are you familiar with Marilyn Manson at all? Do you remember?
Yeah.
Marilyn Manson.
I know who
from
he
back
is,
in the day. It reminds me of him from the Dope Show. Forgive me if I got this wrong, but like the music video, just
The
like what he
music
looks like in the
video.
Dope Show. So I couldn't help but think like, oh my gosh, this kind of reminds me of that. I don't know if Damien Leone or Art. I think, but you know what I'm talking about, right? It's complete tangent, just really random, but
yeah, no, it definitely.
I
Zach's
remember
right.
that,
It definitely kind of mirrors that. Yeah, like Marilyn's mannerisms on that, and then also kind of like Buffalo Bill from The Silence of the Lambs. That's super creepy. He's acting super feminine now. He's obviously wearing the body parts, and he's searching for her. He's kind of trying to taunt her out, and of course he sees that she's hiding in a cabinet. He can see her, but he still teases, kind of like, "Oh, I pretend I don't see you." And then, just then, good old Mike, actually, I'm sorry, not Mike, but Exterminator number 2, played by Michael Levy, arrives in the same area. He sees a bunch of blood and some weird shit thrown about, including the Emily doll, and he's like, what the fuck is this? Just then Art comes up from behind him and stabs him right in the skull, right in the back of the head. Lots of blood. He obviously is suffering at the hands of Art the Clown, and as if that is not enough, Art takes a really large knife and starts sawing through his neck. There's a little bit of blood in the scene.
And he's bleeding all over Emily.
Bleeding all over Emily.
You guys just, there was no point to me covering my eyes because you're bringing it to life right now.
You're very welcome. We're doing it for the listeners, Lauren. We appreciate
Yeah. You're doing it
suffering
to torture
through it
me.
again.
I already know it.
Yeah, we do that too. So finally he decapitates this exterminator, and while the head's completely pulled off from the body, he decides to football punt that head right across the room. He kind of laughs a little bit.
Funny?
So, you just...
At this point, I was like, oh, I can handle the decapitation. It happened in Game of Thrones. I'm good with that. Isn't that so weird?
Yeah, you said that about Hereditary. You're like, it's just a decapitation.
It was in Game of Thrones, and I handled it then.
Well, Damien Leone and gang just took it up a notch for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Victoria's still hiding. More cat and mouse games continue, and Art has found a little tiny bicycle, little tricycle, I guess. He's riding around like a clown. Just then, Art comes up right behind her with a plastic bag, wraps it around her head. As she starts slowly suffocating, she pulls herself through that bag. She runs into the exterminator earlier, who is suffering, and she comes across her sister, Tara's dead bodies, and Tara is still tied to the chair. Is tied to a chair now. Her eyes gouged out, blood everywhere, and there's a sign on her that says circus. And there's some lights around her.
It's Christmas lights, Lauren, foreshadowing.
No,
Yeah,
no,
Christmas
they're not
time.
Christmas lights. They're nothing like Christmas lights. Don't come for my season.
So as she's don't come for my season. As she's crying over her dead sister, Art creeps up behind her with a makeshift whip that he finds that has a bunch of different weapons on the end of them, and he starts whipping her, a Passion of the Christ style. Just as Mike the Exterminator comes to the rescue, comes up behind her and beats Art down, but instead of continuing to make sure that he's dead, he grabs his new friend Victoria, and they walk off and lock themselves into another room. He's like, I think we're gonna be okay. There's a phone here. We're going to call the cops. The cops basically are like, oh, is she okay? Is there actually bleeding? Stay on the line. Kind of a weird phone call with the cops.
So you said Victoria was crying over her dead sister. I have to say, the saying, don't cry over spilt milk, don't cry over your dead sister. Do you think that's what Art would say?
That is what Art would say if he would talk.
Oh my God.
Basically the same.
It's not.
Lauren's excited to do Terrifier too.
I'm not doing Terrifier 2.
That's right, we all three are.
No.
So finally the cops are like, okay, we'll come check this out. Just then, of course, Art finds another way into this room. He knocks Mike the Exterminator guy down. He beats him a couple times in the head while he's down, and then takes his big old clown shoe and crushes his face in, and his head pretty much explodes. Ugh. Did you get to see that, Lauren?
I did, yes. It's imprinted in my mind. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's so good. And Art starts laughing. He thinks it's hilarious. Of course, we don't hear anything because he doesn't make any sounds at all. Victoria finds an exit door. She tries her hardest to get out, but of course it's chained up. Finally, she breaks down the chain while Art grabs her. She breaks away, gets outside. She finds a door she can get through to get to the other side, and just as she exits, Art grabs the back of her head, grabbing onto her hair. He pulls really hard as she's trying to escape him. He ends up ripping some of her hair out, and she gets out. So as she's there, she's sitting in front of the door yelling at him, "You fucking maniac, leave me alone." And Art, in a really silly manner, grabs a little clown horn and pokes it out the door and starts squeezing it to make the horn sound, almost like laughter. Super creepy, funny but creepy. And then he disappears. He's gone. She's like, cool, he's gone. So then, really stupid fashion, she goes back through the crack in that door, goes back into the room, thankful that he is no longer there. Just then, as he gets to the door comes flying open. Art is now driving a truck. He drives through the two doors that act as almost like a makeshift garage door. He drives through it, knocking Victoria down to the ground, all bloodied up. He climbs on top of her. Not to mention that he was listening to jazz music while he was in the car. What'd you think of that, Lauren?
I was like, why are you ruining things that I like right now?
Jazz, soon to be Christmas music or Christmas holidays.
Felt like a personal attack.
So it is a personal attack. He knew he was going to eventually watch this movie in 2024. So so Art has now run Victoria down to the ground. She's all bloodied up. He climbs on top of her and starts eating her face. He puts his whole mouth onto her face, starts taking some bites, and just then the cops arrive, so we're safe. The end of the movie is clearly here. The cops come in, they tell him to drop any weapons he may have, to get off the girl, put his hands in the air. He smiles at us, the audience, as he reaches down and grabs a gun that he has hidden in his little clown shoe. He grabs it and turns to the cops, and just as he turns, he puts the gun in his mouth and pulls the trigger, making the bullet go straight through the roof of his mouth, through the top of his head. And he falls over. The cops are super sad about it. And the cops are actually played by Jason Levy, the brother of Michael Levy, who is the exterminator number 2. And then Steven Della Sala is police officer number 2. And those are the other 2 people that are part of Fuzz on the Lens Productions. So these are our future producers for the rest of these films. So Art is dead, and we get the victims being wheeled out by an ambulance into a morgue. But I will say this morgue looks like a dorm room of some sort. Like it was filmed in a dorm room.
It does not look professional at all.
No, very unsanitary or something. I don't know. Here the coroner's talking about how he wants to eat something that's going to clog his arteries, like a big juicy burger. I thought that was pretty funny.
With bacon.
But he opens up bacon. Yes, bacon. He says, someone says, aren't you trying to watch your cholesterol? And he says, yeah, I'm trying to watch it go up. So he has 2 bodies in the room. One is one of the victims, and he decides to take a look at the other, who is known to be the possible killer of everything that happened. And we reveal Art lying in the body bag. Just then, when he reveals his face, the creepy ass clown face, the lights all start flickering. This is kind of where the supernatural stuff kind of comes into play. So all the lights start flickering. The coroner's like, what the fuck? And just then Art sits up fully alive and starts choking the coroner to his soon-to-be demise. As Art's doing this, the camera shot, we see the back of Art's head, and pieces of his brain and skin are kind of flailing about as he's choking the coroner. Cut back to a hospital, and someone has actually survived. That person's in a wheelchair. They're telling this person, the family, saying, we're happy to see that you're in good spirits. We got a whole bunch of surgeries that'll take care of, how you look and things. And this is where we come full circle back to the beginning of the film. And that person with the fucked up face was actually Victoria, which was Tara's sister. She survived being hit by the truck that Art drove into that makeshift garage door and the eating of her face. That's why she's completely disfigured. So if we go back to the beginning of the film, which is now technically the end in a full circle moment, she's being interviewed an entire year later by a news reporter, and she attacks and kills that news reporter in the room, leaving open the question of, does Art have some kind of supernatural possession or hold over Victoria? What could it all mean? The film is over. The end credits commence. That is Terrifier. Round of applause. Damien Leone and
Zach
team.
clapping, not me.
Yeah, it is Zach clapping. Lauren is not clapping at all. She looks so upset that she had to watch the movie and hear all about it again. Okay, so now we're to the point of this whole show, and that is the reaction shots. Lauren, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being my new favorite movie and 1 being the worst piece of garbage I've ever seen, what do you give Terrifier?
I give this movie a 0.
Gosh, not even a 1.
Not even a 1. And I actually have a list of things I would rather do or happen to me than watch this movie again.
Please tell us this list.
I would rather watch Hereditary on a loop for 24 hours. I would rather have a busy shift at the restaurant where I work as a manager and have every table have a Karen. Every table. I would rather have a friend or significant other text me, "We need to talk," and then proceed to not respond for me for an entire week. Okay. I would rather have an entire year of 100-degree weather. And if you know me, I hate the summer. I'd rather go to a Justin Timberlake concert. That's going to be, you know how I feel about JT.
Oh, yeah.
And I'd rather relive high school.
Oh, no. Wow, what a great list. Now, just imagine all of those things with Art the Clown present for all of it. All right.
Yeah.
Lauren gave the original Terrifier a 0 out of 10.
But I will say
Zach,
the redeeming thing was the guy who played Art with like the miming and he did a really good job. So I will say that, but it's not my cup of tea. Yeah.
Not your cup of tea.
Yeah.
Not your bottle of blood. Zach, what do you give Terrifier on a scale of 1 to 10?
I don't know. For me, I have to give it a 10 out of 10 because the complete opposite of Lauren. I know I'm biased, but I feel like it was just really an original story, not just for the time, but not that it's timeless or anything, but it's proven to still just set itself apart. I feel like the character's really creative and was executed well, but I also want to give credit to the cast as an ensemble. I think everyone worked really well together. And I also feel like the cinematography and the way that the film was shot, I feel like they did a really good job. Lauren, I'm just cracking up that you came up with a list of all the things that you would rather do instead of watch the Terrifier again.
That's commitment.
My list would just be like, what would I rather do? I would just rather watch the Terrifier again.
Oh my god.
So, or hang out with Art. So.
Okay. Yeah, he'd be a fun time.
Or Victoria. I don't know. Maybe she is creepy too.
Yeah. Victoria sounds fun to hang out with too. All right, so my reaction shot for Terrifier, I honestly would probably give it a 7 out of 10 as a film as a whole. Overall, though, I really do love this movie. The 7 comes from the fact that I am a person who really likes character development, that kind of likes a bigger story where none of that is necessarily present here. In a weird way, I also kind of understand why it's not. It all kind of works, which is why I don't necessarily think it's a bad film because it's missing that stuff. I don't think it's a bad film because of that. I think the talent and creativity that went into the film unmatched. There's definitely a love for the film, and it's very present overall. So I'm glad they continued with the series, and I'm excited to show them all to you as well, Lauren.
The Christmas one will 1000% not happen.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll buy tickets first. So I actually asked a couple people to let me know what they thought about the Terrifier the first time they saw it, just to kind of broaden our reaction shot. So someone from the podcast that I listen to actually reached out to me. They go by the name of Dewey Pod Monster. They let me know that the first film feels more like proof of concept than a movie to me. It's fine for what it is, but it lacks any character development or story, really. That said, if you just want gore, it delivers on that. So that's nice. So, yeah.
I feel like that kind of ties into what you were thinking about. You were kind of longing for more character development and more of a storyline. But I like what that person said. Proof of concept. I think it was a really good proof of concept. But for me, again, it was just 10 out of 10.
Yeah. He had a really good point. If you guys ever get a chance to listen to that podcast, it's actually pretty good. The name of the podcast is Dewey Pod Monster. They cover a lot of things like movies, craft beer, etc. So I thought that was nice that he took the time to reached out to let me know his thoughts. He has a really good point. I obviously told you my flip of that is actually one of the reasons why I really do like it. So I actually have another message from someone, a friend of ours named Jess. She wanted to let me know what she thought of Terrifier. And let's see what she has to say.
JV.
Jess was kind of similar to our reaction as well. We were excited about all the crazy gore, even though it's not our favorite thing. The fact they went above and beyond and just really made it work is sets it apart from everything else. And then last but not least, I actually had a friend of mine from middle school / high school. She's a huge fan of horror films. She reached out to me to let me know what she thought about the first time she heard Terrifier. Or, I'm sorry, she saw Terrifier. And this is what she had to say.
Well, the first time that I saw Terrifier would have to be probably 5 or 6 years ago. I do 31 days of Halloween every year, so I try to watch one movie for every day in October. And I stumbled across this little-known movie, and I didn't have high expectations for it. I had never heard of it before, but I put Terrifier on, and I was pleasantly surprised at how much I absolutely loved it. I remember that first watch, it was just shot in a style that you didn't see very often. The kills in it were absolutely shocking and original. And it was actually really funny at parts as well. I absolutely loved Dawn's character. The whole diner scene with Dawn and Tara, I just thought was hilarious. And I really don't think they could have gotten a better actor in David Howard Thornton to play Art. As soon as the second one came out, watched it, loved it just as much, and I'm so excited for the third one to come out. Can't wait to see where this story takes us with Art the Clown. But yeah, absolutely loved the first Terrifier. I thought it was original. I thought it was great.
Yeah, so I really appreciate Bethany reaching out to me and letting me know how she thought about it. So thanks, Bethany, for taking time out of your day to do that as well. But yeah, I thought that'd be pretty interesting to kind of see how people felt about Terrifier. And I feel like it's very 50-50. And I feel like overall, the response to Terrifier kind of always is 50-50. There's definitely things, I understand the things that people don't like about it, and I understand the things that people love about it. So it's just very interesting to me to kind of see where people fall. On Rotten Tomatoes, as of today, with 23 critic reviews, we're at 57% rotten. And then for the audience score, over 1,000 ratings, we're at a 53%. So again, pretty close to being 50-50 with that as well. I don't agree with that rating, but I know there definitely are people such as Lauren who probably thinks it should still be a 0.
Well, can I ask you, like Jess did a voice memo, and I know she's a horror fan. Is Bethany a horror fan?
She is.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so you have a really good point, and like you said earlier, from the Levy producers' response is that this film was made as a love letter to horror fans of horror films, and I think they did a really good job at that. And I appreciate people who aren't necessarily horror fans taking the time to watch this, such as you, Lauren. Obviously, you didn't love it, but you gave it a chance, and I think sometimes that's what we need to do, is just give some movies a chance and maybe just realize the blood, love, sweat, and tears that go into it. So that's obviously very present here. So we appreciate that. Also, with that being said, Fuzz on the Lens, the producers of Terrifier 2 and 3, and the actors that I mentioned, actually released their first film that they were fully a part of, which I think is pretty cool. Michael Levy was actually the director, and then Steven Della Sala, who played one of the cops, along with brothers Jason and Michael Levy, and Robert Privatera. I apologize if I pronounced that wrong. But they actually just released their first film they had full control over, which is called Stream. It actually came out this week. It'll be in theaters only for a week, similar to how Terrifier and Terrifier 2 originally ran. It is a horror film. Basically, the breakdown of it is when Roy and Elaine Keene realize their family is drifting apart, they decide that something needs to be done. Roy forces his work to take a back seat, and they seize the opportunity to recreate a vacation from their past. A peaceful stay in a quaint hotel is just what they need. However, that is not what is in store for them. With 4 deranged murderers patrolling the seemingly mundane halls, the odds are definitely not in the Keenan family's favor. Roy must fight for his life and those of his family as their simple weekend getaway truly turns into a vacation to die for. They basically play it out like a game. There's multiple killers, and whoever has the most gruesome deaths get more points. Does it sound fun, Lauren? I think it sounds great.
Honestly, that sounds interesting. I don't know why I think that, but
Okay.
it sounds
Well, perfect.
interesting
We'll have to do
because
an
it
episode on
sounds
it.
like there's like a story there. That's
Yeah,
know
and
it's
that's,
been
I mean,
said,
again,
but
I think that's something, that's something that people actually say that they, don't love about Terrifiers. They don't have that story. So, yeah, so Stream is actually out now. It's a very limited release, so it seems like the early buzz for the film is really good. There's a lot of horror movie icon cameos in the movie as well. So I'm definitely excited to check that out. If you're able to look up times, go check that out as well. Unfortunately, in Columbus, they canceled a bunch of the times the movie was playing, so
you're
we
not
won't be
gonna
able to
see
see
it.
it, unfortunately. We were going to, but Columbus just keeps canceling all their showings for it because it's not like a major blockbuster film
Mhm.
in the middle of summer here, so kind of sucks. But, I think they have a great team behind them, just like Terrifier did. Damien Leone actually does all the special practical effects for the film as well, so we know that shit's going to be good. So cool. Well, Lauren, I appreciate you being here for this episode. Zach, I appreciate you doing your first episode of the reaction shot. Hopefully you guys had a really good time talking about Zach's favorite movie, Terrifier, and Lauren's least favorite movie,
Well,
Terrifier.
Zach, is it your favorite movie, or is it just one of your favorite movies?
Not my favorite movie of all time, one of my favorite movies.
Okay.
Perfect.
And you're welcome, Dave. This was a very okay experience.
My sarcastic fiance, everyone. He loves being here. He loves that I do this podcast because I always talk his ear off about movies. So now I can talk everyone else's ear off, in this fashion, and then I can talk his ear off about the making of each and every episode and what we talked about. So he super loves it. So we appreciate it. Lauren, thanks for being on. Zach, thanks again. If you guys get a chance, go see Stream in theaters and go check out Terrifier 3 when it comes out in October. All right, everyone have a great night. Lauren, thanks again. Zach, thank you. And we'll see you on episode 12, guys. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.